Thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to have Lisa-Beth Doyle and Cara Maloney presenting today. We appreciate you joining us on this beautiful day, taking time out to hear about how to combat stress with good nutrition. And now I'm going to turn it over to Lisa-Beth.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lisa-Beth Doyle. I'm the Manager of Health and Wellness at AllWays Health Partners, and thank you again for joining us. Past months have been challenging and stressful for everyone. With that in mind, we've been looking to provide some helpful advice and tips for self-care. Nutrition is always a popular topic, so today we're bringing you an AllWays Health Partners nutrition expert to offer information on the connection between stress and the foods we eat. This is important to managing self-care during both the current COVID-19 crisis and good, healthy information to use going forward. I'm pleased to introduce Cara Maloney. As a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator, Cara is passionate about helping others live a healthy lifestyle. Cara has worked in the field of nutrition for over 20 years. She currently works in the Your Care Circle program at AllWays Health Partners. Your Care Circle the Your Care Circle teams go into the community to support members who are experiencing a range of medical, psychological, and social health challenges, including going into members' homes. Prior to working in the YCC program, Cara worked at MGH, both in their outpatient nutrition department and in their diabetes center. I hope you will enjoy today's presentation. And I'm going to pass this over to Cara.
Okay, thank you for that introduction, Lisa-Beth. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining me today. As you were told, today we're going to talk about ways we can combat stress with good nutrition. So some objectives for today, understand the difference between acute versus chronic stress, understand the relationship between stress and your diet, identify ways to improve your diet to better manage stress, and learn about some key nutrients and foods to better combat stress, and hopefully walk away with some basic tips and strategies to put this all into practice. So what is stress? There's really no one definition of stress that we can all agree upon. What is stressful for one person may actually be pleasurable or have little effect on others. So we know that we all react to stress differently, and it's most important to figure out what seems to stress us, what triggers our stress, and how to better manage it. We know that, a lot of Americans right now are feeling overwhelmed and struggling more than ever during this time. And just a side note, prescriptions for anti-anxiety and antidepressant meds are up significantly over the past several months. So stress has many faces and creeps into our lives from many different directions. We know that stress has a negative impact on our body. It can flood the body with stress hormones. And really, the issue arises more when it's left unmanaged or unaddressed. It can lead to all sorts of health implications, including a weakened immune system, and it can also increase your body's need for certain nutrients. So though stress is inevitable and not always bad, it can help, hopefully you can help control your body's response to it, or better control. So this slide really looks at some of the effects of stress on the body. And I like the picture because it really shows the multitude effects of stress on the body, starting with the brain, with lack of focus, irritability, sleep disturbances, the heart is affected, we can have chest pain, increased heart rate, palpitations. The GI system is affected with appetite fluctuations, upset stomach, nausea, reflux. It can reduce sex drive. So, there's multiple effects of stress on the body. Let's talk a little bit about acute versus chronic stress. So acute stress response is normal and totally necessary. It alerts you to wake up, pay attention, and figure out if you're going to fight or flee. So, think of the situation where you're hiking up in Maine, it's beautiful out, and you see a black bear. that is that acute stress response that our body was adapted for. So although helpful in this fight or flight scenario, which hopefully won't happen to any of us, seeing the black bear in Maine, regularly elevated stress can suppress normal functioning of the digestive system, reproductive system, and growth processes. So the stress response was really adapted to help us survive these life-threatening situations, seeing that bear in the woods. But it can also unfortunately be activated by chronic non-life-threatening stressors like work, relationship, finances, and certainly the current pandemic that we're, dealing with at this moment can all lead to this chronic stress. So in these situations, the stress response is doing actually more harm than good. Chronic low-grade levels of stress can contribute to irritability, anxiety, overeating, and many chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disease, and more. Our bodies really weren't adapted or well equipped for dealing with this chronic level of stress that many Americans suffer from. Stress affects what we eat. I call this the cortisol effect. There's many stress hormones. We're going to focus on cortisol here. Stress in the short term can suppress your appetite. But if this stress persists, it can actually have the opposite effect and increase the motivation to eat, increase the appetite. So your body releases the stress hormone cortisol. Once a stressful episode is over, cortisol levels should fall. But if this stress persists and doesn't go away, the cortisol can stay elevated. And we know that cortisol can affect our food choices, and it has been associated with overeating and craving high caloric, fatty, sugary foods. So a healthy diet can counterbalance the impact of stress by strengthening your immune system, stabilizing our moods, our blood sugar, and reducing our blood pressure. Bottom line, though, is what you eat affects your stress, and your stress affects what you eat. So I thought this kind of made sense because we do know that we seem to crave more sugary, higher fat, calorie foods when we're stressed out. So actually, stress spelled backwards is desserts. While there's no magic food that can cure or treat stress, unfortunately, there are a few shifts that we can make in our daily food choices that have been studied for their mood boosting and stress fighting properties. So really changing what's physically on our plates can help us combat stress and feel better. Bottom line, eating nutritionally is good defense against stress. So I'm going to shift gears now and talk about some stress-fighting nutrients. Although there are other foods and nutrients that can help, these nutrients have been well researched in the areas of stress, depression, and anxiety. Vitamin C, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, and complex carbohydrates. We'll talk about vitamin C first. Vitamin C can help your immune system work properly to protect the body from disease and fight infection. It also allows the body to clear out cortisol. It helps regulate cortisol and prevent your blood pressure from spiking in response to these stressful situations. So consuming, foods that are high in vitamin C can help reduce stress and boost your immune system. So again, it's theorized that high levels of stress are linked to a weakened immune system. So by regularly consuming vitamin C rich foods, it can help support your immune system and give it the boost it needs when you're stressed and under pressure. Unfortunately, stress can also deplete your levels of vitamin C. So it's really important to focus on adequate intake, especially given that vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin. So that really just means that the body cannot store it efficiently for long term. So here are some examples of vitamin C rich foods. Most fruits and vegetables are good sources of vitamin C. These are just a list of some, more higher rich vitamin C foods. So strawberries, bell peppers, particularly red peppers, oranges, broccoli, tomatoes, kale, leafy greens. So most fruits and vegetables, you're going to get a good source of vitamin C. Tips for adding vitamin C to the diet. You could supplement lunch or dinner with a piece of fruit like an orange. You could add, fresh strawberries to a spinach salad or smoothie. You could cut up, a pepper, particularly red pepper, to pair with hummus or yogurt-based vegetable dip or snack. Add broccoli to a stir fry or pasta dish, making like a primavera with lots of vegetables. And just getting more fruits and vegetables. Next, we'll talk about magnesium. Magnesium is involved in more than 300 metabolic reactions in your body, including mood and brain function. It can help promote energy, sleep, and blood sugar and hormone balance. It's an essential dietary mineral that we know nearly half of all Americans are not getting enough of. Deficiencies have been linked to depression, which we know depression can increase that cortisol stress response. Unfortunately, another nutrient that is dramatically depleted in times of stress because the body uses this nutrient to combat stress. So our body really needs this nutrient to stay healthy. Upping our intake of magnesium will help our nervous system to better handle stress. Here are some rich sources of magnesium. The good news is magnesium is found in many foods, not just fruits and vegetables. So you can see some grains, dairy like yogurt, soy. So, it's pretty easy to get magnesium. Some tips for adding it to the diet. You could have a handful of nuts for a snack or add some chopped nuts to a yogurt or oatmeal. Spread nut butter of choice like almond butter or peanut butter on whole grain bread or crackers. It's important to note here that actually almonds are one of the richest sources of magnesium. Brown rice with black beans, a nice vegetarian meal. Make a smoothie with either soy milk or yogurt. You could top a salad, especially a spinach salad, with slivered almonds. So these are just, a couple tips, but they're, you might not like some of these. You can always work with nutritionists on your own to figure out what's going to work for you. These are just some ideas. So next we'll talk about omega-3 fatty acids. So this is an essential fatty acid that your body does not make. We have to acquire it through food. You can take a supplement, but ideally, focus on food first. Omega-3 fatty acids have been shown to reduce surges of stress hormones, including cortisol. It's important for brain function and has anti-inflammatory actions that can help relieve depression. It also protects against heart disease and premenstrual syndrome. It's one of the most studied nutrients in the world, and I think that says a lot about it because of all the benefits we're seeing from omega-3 fatty acids. So cold water fatty fishes are really the best source of omega-3s, which is, salmon, mackerel, tuna, canned tuna, herring, sardines. Eggs can be fortified. There's other foods that are fortified in omega-3s. And then there's also plant sources like nuts and seeds, flaxseed, chia seeds, walnuts, to name a few, plant oils, and soy. It's just important to know that omega-3 precursors found in plant foods, the conversion to the active form is not as effective as those found in animal products. So, if you're a vegetarian or follow a vegan diet, you may be lacking and want to talk to your provider maybe about a supplement. If you do like fish, it's just recommended to have 2 to 3 servings of fish per week, which is about 6 to 9 ounces. When you think of a deck of cards, that's just 2 to 3 decks of cards. Some people eat that in 1 serving, some people in 2 servings. So about average 2 times a week having fish. And the last nutrient we're going to talk about today is complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are digested more slowly and don't cause a spike in your blood sugar. They help stimulate your brain's production of serotonin. This is the feel-good neurotransmitter. And they stabilize your blood pressure, all as a way to help reduce stress. They have been shown to reduce surges of stress hormones and protect against heart disease, depression, and premenstrual syndrome. It's important to note that carbohydrates are your body's main source of fuel for the body and brain. The body works really hard to maintain a steady level of glucose, which is the blood sugar in the blood, so that we have enough energy to fuel metabolism and balance our hormones. And when our blood sugar gets too low, it can trigger that stress response. Also, having too many processed carbs, refined processed carbs and sweets can throw off your blood sugar because they cause a drastic increase in your blood sugar and then equally drastic drop. So those swings in the blood sugar can set off the stress response, resulting in physiological symptoms of anxiety and even panic attacks for some people. So, we want to focus more on the complex carbs because they are more slowly digested and help stabilize blood sugars. And it's really time to start embracing carbohydrates. We live in a world right now where carbohydrates are getting a bad rap, but they're very healthy when we focus on the right kinds, like complex carbohydrates. And we learn how to include them as part of a healthy diet. The more stable our blood sugar, it helps calm the stress response. So eating complex carbs can help lower cortisol and help us feel more calm and relaxed. Some food sources of complex carbs: whole grains such as whole grain bread, brown rice, black rice, wild rice, whole wheat pasta, oats, barley, quinoa, lots of great, natural whole grains. Fruits, starchy vegetables like corn, green peas, potatoes, beans and legumes, nuts and seeds. So just want to make a little note on the whole grains because it can be very confusing regarding that bread aisle. The important thing to note is in the ingredient list, don't just look on the front where it says whole grain. Just take a peek at the ingredient list and make sure that first ingredient says something like whole or 100%. And it's usually the first ingredient. That can signify it's truly a whole grain. And then less ingredients, the better. So some tips of adding complex carbs to our day. We can start our day with whole grains such as oatmeal. I know it's the summer months, we might not do as much during these months coming up, but starting with whole grain toast, adding choosing more fruits over fruit juice. Try adding beans to salads or soups, swapping that white potato for the sweet potato more often. The sweet potato has a little more fiber and doesn't seem to spike our blood sugar as much as the white potato. So just some general tips. We just want to emphasize healthy nutrition and food choices and to try to include these key nutrients daily, not just when we're stressed out. We know that when we're really stressed out, some of these nutrients are already depleted. So we really want to focus on trying to get them daily. Taking time to fuel your body with quality nutrition will help you sustain your energy levels and boost your immunity during these stressful times. Really try to avoid skipping meals to prevent these blood sugar swings and focus on more balanced meals that include, lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, and complex carbohydrates. The more balanced the meal, it helps increase satiety, keeps us fuller longer, and it creates more stable blood sugar control. So ideally, we want to try to eat something every 3 to 4 hours or not longer than 5 without to help prevent these blood sugars from dipping too low and setting off that stress response. Just make sure, again, to include, a source of protein and fat and not just carbs alone for that more stable blood sugar. And we know that, helping to regulate your blood sugar throughout the day is going to keep your body stable and your emotions on a better playing field. So putting it all together, I'm sure most of you have seen this healthy plate or some version of it. I call it the balance plate. And although there's some different versions out there and they can look different, they're all trying to send the same message. And it's really to focus on more whole foods, minimally processed foods, to try to fill more of that plate with vegetables, the more the better, to try to focus on, balanced meals and snacks with that mix of that carb, protein, and healthy fat. And, just understand your plate might not look exactly like this, and that's okay. It's just trying to think about what it's trying to emphasize. So you could have, a veggie omelet in the morning, and that's your healthy protein is the eggs, the vegetables, with a slice of whole grain toast. And you don't always have to include everything on this plate either, but just trying to get a mix and more of a balance is better. We know that a balanced diet will help us stay focused, alert, energetic, and healthy during these times of stress. Some final takeaways understand that not, one choice or one day is going to make or break anything. What you do most of the time is most important. Shifting towards seeing food as medicine and how we fuel our bodies really helps our bodies function better. Also, focusing on what you can control in times of uncertainty is one of the best well-being resiliency strategies. We often focus and worry about things that are out of our control, which really does not serve us well, rather than focus on what we can control, and the diet is one of these things. And also how we choose to manage our stress. Lastly, I just want you to think of 3 things or words when trying to stay healthy to better manage your stress. Move, fuel, sleep. So we talked a lot about the fuel aspect today, but I just want to say, if you're not getting adequate sleep, even the healthiest diet will only go so far in combating stress. So we also know that movement and regular exercise helps with stress relief, helps keep our bodies healthy. So move, fuel, sleep. Any questions?
Hi, Kara. It's Lisa-Beth. We did have a couple questions come in here. So first question, the writer says, I thought fruits have sugar and that sugar wasn't good for us. What to do about fruit?
Okay, so yes, I get this question a lot. And fruit has natural sugar and fiber, which we talked about earlier in terms of the complex carbohydrates slowing that blood sugar reaction. Fruits have lots of vitamins and minerals, and definitely can be part of a nutritious diet. Unfortunately, we're so focused on sugar, but I think people should be focused on added sugar, not naturally present sugar from fruits. And, we know that a lot of these vitamins and minerals are found in fruits and vegetables. So we really don't need to be scared of fruits, and they can be really part of a healthy diet.
Great, thank you. And then another one came in and this says, should we be boosting our diets with vitamins, even if we follow a healthy diet?
It's a good question. The research doesn't really show that people that take vitamins are living any longer than people that don't. I like to see them as an insurance policy. If you feel like you're really not eating a well-balanced diet, and most of us probably aren't, eating a great diet, but if you feel like your diet's really lacking, then just a general multivitamin might be okay. But again, the research really isn't supportive of that it's helping us that much. So a lot of it can be just wasted money. If you are going to get a vitamin, I would just kind of focus on general multivitamin, or things like the vitamin D or magnesium, some of the nutrients we talked about today. But talk with your provider too.
Thank you. And we had one more, which is about vegetables. Do vegetables lose any of their nutritional value when cooked? Does cooking them, do I need to eat them raw? Does cooking make them less make them less nutritious?
Mm-hmm. Okay, another good question. So yes, cooking can cause some vegetables to lose nutrients, but also cooking can bring out nutrients in some vegetables. So it's really comparing kind of the healthfulness of raw and cooked food is complicated. It can go both ways. And I really think the bottom line is people, for some reason, seem to struggle eating vegetables. So if, we cook them because they taste better, and if they taste better, we're more likely to eat them, then I think that's the whole idea. Really just how you're gonna, don't focus so much on the cooking, but versus just getting more vegetables, because we're certainly not getting enough. I would say in terms of water soluble vitamins, those, vitamin C, vitamin B, those will lose the most nutrients when cooked. So like broccoli, for instance, but, I don't like raw broccoli, so I cook it. I just think it's important to focus on just getting more vegetables, and don't get so caught up in what's going to be lost in certain cooking processes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks so much. So I want to thank you, Kara, for the great information and for recommendations and taking the time to answer the questions. I hope everyone has come away from Kara's presentation with some new and useful information. Before we wrap up, I just want to let folks on the call know about telemedicine benefits, including nutritional counseling and behavioral health for stress and anxiety. So in order to keep people healthy and to prevent the spread of COVID-19, AllWays Health Partners, along with many other carriers, have significantly expanded coverage for telemedicine. During this time of emergency, we cover video and telephonic appointments with PCPs, specialists, other providers with no copay, and we urge everybody to keep up with their regularly scheduled appointments for condition management, to make appointments for any new concerns. So folks are aware. Nutritional counseling, as well as diabetes self-management and behavioral health for things like stress, anxiety, depression are all covered benefits through AllWays Health Partners. You can contact us, contact AllWays Health Partners customer service or your insurer for questions about coverage, and also work with your providers to set up telemedicine appointments. Just sort of making you aware, once the COVID emergency passes, these telemedicine services may incur a copay or other cost sharing depending on your plan, but right now is a great time to take advantage, and do know that copay or not, there is coverage for nutrition as part of our benefit package. Right now on screen, there is a web link for AllWays Health Partners. If you use that link, it will give you some information on what we're doing for COVID-19 and our resources. And then underneath that is the email address for health and wellness in case you have any questions for me or for my team, or want to talk to one of the AllWays Health Partners health coaches. And if you don't want to copy this down right now or don't have time to, this slide deck is going to get emailed out to you, so you'll have that at your fingertips. So thank you all again, and be well and enjoy this warm day.